Hello CFI family, welcome to the 6th episode of our CFI Insider. Greg Orr, President of CFI, happy to be here and happy to be able to share some good information with you again today. We got another special guest today. Jeff Yarnall, our Director of Safety, is here, and wanted to introduce him today and let him speak a little bit about himself, his history, and some of the things that he's done over his career. So Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks. Hello CFI. So I'm Jeff Yarnall, I'm the Director of Safety, as Greg mentioned. I've been with CFI for 4 years. Prior to that, I go back a long way as it relates to trucking. I started washing trucks and trailers when I was 16 years old. It's like my first job, right? I guess maybe that's where I fell in love with trucking, but went on to school and come out and was hired as a dispatcher after college. Spent about 6 years in operations, a couple of years over in customer service. Then somebody said something about, hey, there's a claims and safety job you might fit into well. And I thought, well, I'll give that a shot. And I've enjoyed it ever since, as far as just trying to do my part to make the roads a little bit safer.
So how many years have you been in safety total?
In safety, about 14.
14. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Well, we're tickled to have you. Couldn't be happier to be a part of the team, and just knowing a lot of the things that we've been working on, we're starting to see some really good improvements in safety. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was road check. That's coming up here relatively soon. So give us a little bit of insight as to what that means for us and to our professional drivers.
Well, it means a lot. We don't fear road check here. In the time that I've been here, it's never been something that we're concerned about, because if you do it right every day, like I think we do, you just kind of shine really when it comes to road check. But it's, for those that don't know, it's a 72-hour blitz. It's coming up this year, June 5th through the 7th, so right around the corner.
Yep.
And it's basically full-blown law enforcement out in groves, just really looking for low-hanging fruit and drivers to inspect. This year's focus, every year has a focus. Last year was brakes. This year's is hours of service. I think they're really hitting on the new ELD to make sure all carriers are compliant. Of course, we are. CFI has been for years with the electronic devices. So we're ready for it. We're going to offer some tips to our fleet, just as reminders. The little things that can surprise us sometimes, like making sure we have loose leaf logs, making sure all our lights are working, making sure we're buckled up, seat belts, the things that attract attention to ourself.
The basics, right?
The basics, all right, don't speed. And they'll for the most part leave reputable companies like CFI alone, I think, and kind of move on to some other carriers where they know they can find some violations.
Good points. I think a lot of good things there that hopefully just a good awareness for everybody as we get out there and have that opportunity to participate in this, and just know that, as Jeff said, we just recently went through a DOT audit, came out with flying colors, and I think not only are we with the safest fleet in the industry, but some of the best professional drivers that we have, and thank you for that. So let's jump over to another subject. We're always talking about we need more finishers in our family here. What is a finisher, and what do they provide to us, and why do we need more?
A finisher helps us with the future. They're training the new drivers to the industry of what to expect, of how to do it right, the right way, the CFI way. And we have a lot of drivers will say, man, we're just bringing in, we're not bringing good people into the industry. Well, if you want to change that, become a finisher, because you have a direct impact on up to 12 individuals a year to make them the type of driver that you think should be on the roads. And that's a safe driver. That's a driver that understands the industry, and this is what the job is about. And nobody said it was easy, but it's very rewarding if you want to, and just if you want to make it that way. And just being a finisher allows you to basically mold drivers that have no experience and take them to hopefully become million milers or drivers of the month and those types of things.
Absolutely. That's we're very, very proud of the finishers we have, and I think they do a fantastic job. But we're always looking for a few more, and it'd be great to have more if we could get them. So, well, let's talk about CSA Unsafe Basic. That's been kind of a challenge for us for the last 6 or 7 months. What are the things that we're working on to try to improve those numbers?
Well, the only number we need to improve on is the unsafe. Everything else, from our hours of service to our hazmat, our crash, those things are all solid. I mean, industry leading.
Yep.
But when it comes to that unsafe, you know, the things I mentioned on the that we're getting prepared for on the CSA, the things that are drawing attention to ourselves. Speeding is a big one that that unfortunately you may not get a citation. Our drivers may not get a citation that costs them money, resulting in fines, but it sure does cost the company in points. CSA points, and they stay on a driver's record for 3 years, and they stay on CFI's record for 2 as a carrier. So we just want to avoid CSA points altogether. You know, the things again that are the big write-ups are use of a handheld device. That just has to be avoided. You know, we're not the type of carrier that will allow that to occur.
Right. And
so we just have to put the phones down. Right. And the unique violations that we've got relating to a handheld device recently, just to kind of share, one driver was checking the time. That was the device that he used for the time. And you know, you don't think that that's the use of a handheld device, but all you need to do is be seen with that in your hand, and boom, there comes the citation or the violation, which is tremendous points. And another one is, at this time of year especially, sun's shining out here as we're out here in the inspection bay, but the other violation is speeding in construction zone. We get hit with that, and it's just like double the points, just like it's double the fines, and there's just no way to get around it. So we really need the fleet to focus on avoiding those types of events, those high-value, high-point events, and we're going to do okay. We've had a nice little drop-off since the first of the year. We're chipping away at it, and we're getting closer to where we want to be on the unsafe basis.
It's really just about awareness, right? Just making sure that you're aware of your surroundings and paying attention to the speed signs, all those type of things. That's really the key for us, I think, is, you know, it seems like 8 times out of 10 every time we get a speeding ticket it's because we're going through a small town or something and just wasn't paying attention. So I think it's just key to make sure that you're aware of your surroundings and know what's going on out there.
Excellent point. We don't have much trouble on the big roads.
Yeah, absolutely.
The others that cause us some troubles.
Well, I know recently we had a couple challenges with cargo security, and we've had a full court blitz on this going forward. So give us a little insight as to what are some of the things that our professional drivers should be doing every time they're out there on the road to make sure that, number one, they're safe, but 2, our cargo is safe right behind them.
Well, that's the key. You mentioned our drivers, Greg, and we want to, the reason we put policies and procedures in place is, number one, to protect our drivers, okay? Because the freight we're hauling somebody may want, and so, you know, the call outs that you brought up are things such as we're making sure drivers know what type of anti-theft device they have in their truck. Because, you know, we found out recently that, hey, not every driver knew exactly what they had or how to use it, and so that was disappointing to hear. So we just kind of had an all-out blitz, if you will. I talked to 4 drivers today after the Friday safety meeting, and I just asked them, hey, did you talk to operations about what type of anti-theft device you had? All 4 of them said yes. And within the last week, I've been contacted about what I've got. So we're making progress there. I think we're about 90% done with that survey. You know, some other things we're doing, we're just making sure, like I just mentioned on the Your Voices Heard call, making sure that drivers are when they're leaving a load unattended, they have that security device, they're parking in well-lit, secure areas. You know, they're not dropping that trailer and bobtailing away. Anytime we do that, that's cargo at rest. And that means cargo at risk. So we want to make sure that we're never bobtailing away from a loaded trailer without some type of authorization from either operations or safety. Sometimes it has to happen, but we don't want the driver to be on the hook for that. So make sure, you know, communication is key, as it is with a lot of things. Just communicate with us on whatever situation you get into, and we've got somebody in place to help you through that.
So absolutely. Well, last question, and then I'm going to ask you to do us a safety message. We usually start our meetings with the safety message, but I'm going to let Jeff end his message with the safety meeting. But the last one is, you know, our crash numbers were a little rough last year, but we're starting to see some nice improvements. What are some of the things that we're doing there to really drive a different behavior with our professional drivers?
Well, the Captain of the Ship program, I think, has been going on for a very long time.
Yep.
And you talk about something that is hitting home. It starts at the top.
Yep.
I know you support it, and I hear operations talking it up all the time. It's not just for weather. You know, our Captain of the Ship program is for everything from a mechanical issue to fog to fatigue. All of anything you can think of that driver, you know, we kind of empower the driver, if you will, to make a decision, to be the captain of that ship. And that's the #1 reason why I think we have seen a nice reduction in crashes. We're promoting that tremendously. Our safety technology, I don't want to overlook that. I think, you know, we've seen a nice drop off there. We're still learning it on both sides. From the driver's side, they're still getting familiar with it. Also from in-house, you know, we're looking at what it takes to manage that program and see what we see from the data that we gather. But we're utilizing that, and I think we've avoided a lot of rear-end collisions, mainly because of that. You know, it's a general awareness on just that we can lower crashes if we just truly focus on it. And it's the buy-in from the entire company, not just the drivers, but from everybody that's talking to a driver on a regular basis. So there's a lot of good things going on. For accidents avoidance, I don't know that you can pin it on one single thing, except probably the best, safest fleet out there.
Yep, I would agree. I would agree. Well, give us a quick safety message so we can let the folks know that, you know, as part of our leadership team, we always have that as part of our meetings and make sure that everybody starts or ends a meeting with a safety message, usually starting. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that they hear something kind of special from you about what's going on out there.
You know, I was wondering if you would ask that on the way down here to start with the safety message, so I'm glad you circled back to it. When we were walking down here, approaching the inspection bay, one thing I thought about was the importance of pre-trip inspections and what it means. And it's not just, in my opinion as a safety director, it's not just for me to make sure as a driver that our equipment is in working order. But not only does it get the blood flowing as you're walking around that truck and get your mind clear, but it's also preparing that mind as you're looking for different things on that equipment that may be in violation. You're kind of preparing your mind for the safety sensitive tasks that you're getting ready to perform.
Yep.
And again, the most important thing when it comes to the operation of a tractor is that professional driver behind the wheel. So your mind has to be right.
Yep.
And so pre-trip, not only here in the inspection bay, but pre-trip, wherever you may do it, whatever time of the day you may do it, it's very important. So don't just log it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Well, I know you had a few questions for me, so why don't you throw a couple across the way to me and see if I can answer them for you.
Well, I ran across an article the other day in a publication. I forget which one it was, but we sent it out, and it was a very interesting article. I learned quite a bit about you. I thought I already knew some of that. But you were, you know, you've been an executive in trucking for a long time. And I know that there you're responsible for, you know, the finances and a lot of that. But, you know, you're also responsible for the safety. And I just want to, you know, hear from the top, what type of impact does a good safety program have on the bottom line?
Well, I would tell you there's always a financial savings to the company, right? Whenever we're not hitting something, running over something, whatever it may be, you know, just in the first quarter alone, we spent an inordinate amount of money, nearly $7 million in accident costs. And you know what's sad about that is it's not even so much the accidents that's costing the amount of money, it's really the attorney and legal fees that are after the fact, right?
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating part for us as leaders of the organization, being able to see the additional dollars that come after the accident. But what I would tell you is mostly our priority, and my priority is to make sure that, you know, financials are what makes our company successful and what feeds 3,000 families every night. However, it's important that we make sure that our drivers get home safely when they want to. And that's really my focus as a leader of the organization. You know, all the things that Jeff talked about today are very much key in success of why we are so good at what we do. However, it only takes one thing to change that. And our priority is to make sure that we're continually reminding each one of our drivers every day to make them aware of what's going on out there. And I think it's really about awareness and just reminding our drivers to be safe every time that we can. And that's really our focus.
Good. So one more question. I noticed in the article you used to be a baseball player. And I was But, you know, when I read through that article, it just really caught my attention. You actually went on to the next level from college. I think it said you played for the Richmond Chickens.
Roosters.
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 Well, that makes more sense.
Yes.
Roosters.
Yes.
That goes much better together than chickens.
Yeah.
Okay. But it looked like so I was just kind of curious, as being a baseball fan, this is a two-part question, by the way. What's the most the most famous player that you ever struck out?
Well,
a name that I might recognize.
I don't know that you would recognize it because I played Division II in college, and typically you don't have a lot of huge names in Division II baseball, but was fortunate enough to play in the national tournament 3 out of my 4 years. And for those of you that were Chicago Cubs fans, Tim Monroe was the guy that probably is most well known. He played about 7 years with the Cubs, typically played third base, and he was one of the best hitters that I ever faced in college. He played for Lewis University at the time, and his batting average was over 500 his senior year.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think in our 56 games that we played a year, he had 34 home runs. I did give up a dinger to him once or twice, but I did strike him out a couple times too. So
okay. Well, you stole my thunder on the second part of that question, because you know I looked through your stats at college and I saw you served up the old long ball a few times there.
Yes,
but,
yes, I did.
I wasn't going to go into the numbers, so I won't.
Yeah.
But the second part to that question, he's probably the answer too. And who's the biggest name you served one up to?
Yeah, it was him for sure. And then, you know, on the other side of that, my catcher actually played for the Texas Rangers and Montreal Expos for a few years. And, you know, there was plenty of times where we had scrimmages on the field and stuff. And I was fortunate enough to be able to strike him out most of the time too. But he had a pretty long extended career in baseball as well. But it was a great time in my life. But you know, the best time is ahead of us, and that's what I'm excited about being here. So with that, folks, I would just say this. It's always great to talk about baseball. You know, that's one of my passions in life. Had the opportunity to play for many, many years, but you know, now is more important than anything. And you know, 20 plus years in the industry, I have the ability and the autonomy and just the joy of being able to help lead this organization. And with Jeff's help and some of our leadership team, we've got some of the best folks in this company. And just want to say thank you for everything you do for us. We appreciate everything you do. And most importantly, please continue to be safe out there. Have a great week.
Thank you, drivers.